everyone, and welcome to the OklaRoots YouTube channel. In today's embroidery tutorial, we are going through the month of July 2023's perfectly pieced box, and this comes to us from Me Time Delivered. So I have been told, even though I have not opened the box yet, I've been told that this month is a special month because it is the first anniversary for the perfectly pieced box. So I'm told there's some extra bonus projects. There's a little bit more fabric than normal, so I'm really excited to dig into this box. I did want to tell you this is a subscription box, so you can either do the physical box like what I do, where you get this fun little orange box on your doorstep once a month, or you can just do the digital version where you just get all the files. So if you're like, I have a ton of fabric, I just want to use my own fabric, but I still want to participate in all these different projects, you can do that instead. So I'll have a link down below if you want to sign up. So as usual, I did practice the block before I opened the box because I have the digital files. Those are separate. So I still haven't opened this, but I did try out the block. I'm going to tell you, I tried out the block. It's very, very cute. I made 6 of them, and then I sewed all 6 of them together to make a boxy bag. How stinking cute is this? So I did 1 full panel of my boxy bag. This is 6 blocks, and then I used one of my templates to just cut it out. Isn't that adorable? So you can see this block actually has like the square in the center, and then it has little corner pieces that are triangles, but then when you fit them together, they create their own little diamond shapes, which I think is so pretty. So this is one of those blocks you can get super scrappy with, and it almost looks like candy. I mean, that's what when I look at this, I'm like, it's just like candy confetti. I just love how that looks all pieced together. So you can be really organized with how you arrange all your blocks, or you can just like throw all the scraps at this and then create something just really fun, perfect for summer. So thank you as always to Me Time Delivered for sponsoring today's video and for sending me the box. This is such a fun little monthly project. It definitely lets me have like a little bit of quilting, embroidery, sojo every month. I get kind of wrapped up with bags and stuff all the time, and I really like going back to making some sort of simple quilt blocks and then using my embroidery machine. It's a fun monthly project that doesn't take a lot of time, and if you have the box, it takes like almost no resources on your behalf besides, you know, the embroidery machine and needles and things like that. All right, let's unbox this and then make a block. All right, so let's open up this adorable orange box. Lifting it up, we see this is for July 2023. Let's see what it says on the back. So on the back of this, it's going to tell you everything that's in the box, which is just most of the things you'll need for the projects and the fabric and a little bit of thread. So let's check this out. Let's look at this. First, we have a nice bundle of fabric here. Oh, these colors are so pretty. Very, very summery. I do like that they included the black too, the black and white, because I know when we think of summer, especially in July, we think a lot of red, white, and blue. But I like this. I like that it's black, white, and teal. This color combination is really pretty. So you'll notice you have different size cuts of the material, and this is because the different projects will require different things. So let's say you need a backing for a project. You're gonna have a lot of that color to provide enough material for the backing. But remember, you can always use your own material as well. And then we have the thread, and this month's color is Bone, and this is from Glide. This is great, great embroidery thread, which is nice with the boxes that every month you get a different color. So this allows you to slowly over time kind of get a nice plethora of colors of embroidery thread, because especially when you start embroidering, it can be very overwhelming going to the store trying to figure out what colors you need, and you kind of leave with a whole bunch of random colors, and then you do a project and none of them are the colors you need. So this is a great way to just slowly get different colors that will be great for all projects. And then we have a fun little bundle here of fabrics. This looks like a nice little extra. It's a bunch of rainbow colors. I love that. So this is a charm pack. And then what's this? This says it's a garden flag. Oh, so you can make a garden flag this month. I'll be honest, I haven't looked at the projects yet for this month, but look at this. Look at this beautiful little piece of canvas here. So you can add your embroidery to this, you can piece on your blocks to this and create an adorable flag. I wonder what the project for that is. I bet it's very cute. And then we have a cute little pin here. It's a little pokey pin, which is adorable. It looks like the quilt block we're making this month. It's like 4 of the quilt blocks that we're doing. That's so cute. And then finally, there is a printout with all the instructions. So if you just want to, you know, put a movie on your iPad instead of putting the digital file on your iPad, you can do that and then just keep this next to you and go through this to help guide you through the project. Okay, so this project has a center square and then 4 triangles on the corner and then a muted background. So let's see how we want to do this. I think I am going to kind of stick with the pattern and use this white as the muted, very calm background. You could switch this up instead and use like a dark background and then make all the triangles and the squares a very light color. I mean, that's another option, huh? We could use this as the background and then like this as the center and then a bunch of bright colors for the corners. Let's try that actually, yeah. So My black is going to be the background. I'm going to use the white as the center. And I think I'm actually going to dig into this charm pack for the corners. I don't know if I'm going to use this color right now. I think I want to keep this for another project. So I'm going to make each corner a different color. So definitely going to need some yellow. I'll grab one of these for that. I'm looking for like a light pink. Ah, there we go. Here's some light pink. And then I do want like a teal color. Oh. I think I will have, I'll use a tiny cut of this material for one corner because I love that. I love that color. And then for the last corner, let's do, oh, I don't know. Let's do this orange. My big concern is I want to make sure that none of my colors I'm picking are too dark because they're all going to go against this black background. So I need them all to pop. So I'll be making the 4-inch block today. I'm going to use the cutting sizes provided in the pattern and just quickly go through all this. For pattern piece 1, it's going to be this white right here, and then pattern pieces 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be this dark color over here, and then pattern piece 6, 7, 8, and 9 will be the different colors. All right, so once you have all of your blocks cut up, just lay them out. I like to lay them in the order they go, so like 1 on top, 2, 3, you get it all the way through, so that way I just pick them one by one. You're gonna also need a cut of batting, and this cut is gonna decide on your block size. Since I'm making the 4-inch block size, my batting cut is a 5-inch square. And then you're gonna need some stabilizer. The mesh stabilizer from Kimberbell is really, really great. I actually ran out of it, so now I'm just using what I have on hand, and this is just a tearaway stabilizer. Yeah, this is just a basic tearaway stabilizer, and I find it works great, especially if you're going to be using this block not for something like a quilt. Like if this is not going to be used for something that's really snuggly and soft, maybe you're going to be using this block for a bag like I did with the boxy bag. Having this tearaway stabilizer provides a little bit more structure. It's almost like a stiffer interfacing, which is going to be perfect for bags. And then my handy dandy little curved scissors. These are a must-have for all of this. And then I have some Kimberbell tape. If you have a hard time keeping the fabric pieces in place when you're embroidering, this tape is great. You can actually embroider over it, pull it right out. Doesn't leave any sort of stickiness. It's not a problem. It's very easy to work with. I have my hoop. I'm going to be using the larger size hoop for my machine today because this is the hoop size I'll need for the block. In the bobbin, I like to use bottom lines, so I just wanted to show you guys that. I get it in all these different colors. It doesn't really matter what color it is because you don't see it in the end. So I like to go with something a little bit more fun. And then I have my small little Cricut iron. You do want a small iron for this because it needs to fit inside of your hoop. We will be pressing the block in the hoop while we're working on it. So a big standard iron is just not going to work for that. I forgot to mention, you're also going to need like thread to stitch everything together and to embroider. So I'll be using the thread from the box, but you can use whatever color you like for this. This is also the thread color I'll be using to quilt the block. So I think actually since I'm using that black background, this is gonna really pop. That's gonna look cool. And then the embroidery machine I'm using is the Brother PE800, which is my go-to embroidery machine. I actually have quite a few different embroidery machines in different sizes and different number of needles. But this is the one I use the most because it's easy. I can just pull it out, put it on my table, quickly get something done. Not a whole lot of setup, no oiling or finagling. I mean, it's just so simple and easy. It does have a limit. I can only make the 2-inch or 4-inch block sizes on this machine. I can't make the bigger block sizes. So as long as your projects are small, this is a perfect machine. I have a whole unboxing, and this is the one I use, most of the time in my embroidery videos. So let's start by cutting down our stabilizer. When I do this, I usually like just lay my hoop over it and then just make sure it hangs off all the edges. You do want a good amount of overhang, because then what you're going to do is just take the outer hoop and lay it right side up. Take your stabilizer, lay it over it, make sure it's completely covering it, and then take your inner hoop and just smush it down in there. And when you smush it down, it's going to pull at all the corners. So you don't want any of these edges slipping into the hoop and then losing it, because it needs to be nice and tight. So it should be kind of like a drum. All right, so once you have your design loaded on your machine, you're going to insert your hoop and you're going to stitch out the first step, which is the placement for the batting. Now take your batting and make sure you cover all 4 edges of the square, having a little bit of batting overhanging each edge. And then we're going to run step 2, which is stitching down the batting in place. Now remove the hoop from the machine, but don't take anything out of the hoop yet. What we're going to do now is we're going to trim off this excess batting. So just lift up the batting and then just use your scissors to cut close to the stitching that you just made. We want to get this as close as possible, but you don't want to accidentally cut your stabilizer and you don't want to accidentally cut those stitches. So it doesn't have to be right against the thread, just close enough. And it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. You're never going to see this. So if it's a little jagged and messy, that's fine. So now put your hoop back in the machine and we're going to run step 3, which is a piecing template. So it's pretty much just like a layout of where all the blocks are going to go. Now looking at the marks, you'll notice there's a small square right in the center. Grab your piece of fabric number 1 and you're going to lay it right side up, covering that square. Make sure there's a good amount of overhang around all edges. So just completely cover that square right side up. This is the only piece of fabric that we do this with it's the right side up. Now we're going to stitch down fabric piece 1. Now you can take the hoop out of the machine and then any little overhang of material you have above the stitch line, so going towards the top, should be a small amount here. You can just lift it up and trim it down. That's excess, we don't need it. Now grab fabric piece number 2 and you're going to lay it right side down, covering block 1 and lining up the edge of piece 2 with the stitch line that you just made. Now we're going to insert this hoop back in the machine and we're going to stitch down fabric 2. Once you have it stitched down, again take the hoop out and you're going to lift up fabric piece 2 and flip it so it's right side up. Kind of smooth out that seam with your finger and then grab your iron and just very lightly and quickly press that seam open. Now we're going to insert the hoop back in the machine and we're going to stitch down placement for fabric 3. Now looking at that bottom piece of fabric 1, we have a little bit of overhang below the stitching. You can just lift that up and trim that down. And then grab fabric cut number 3 and lay that right side down, covering fabric 1 and lining up the edge of fabric 3 with that stitch line you just made. Now put this back in the machine and we're going to stitch down fabric 3. Now take fabric 3 and pull it so that it's right side up. Give it a gentle press with your fingers and then grab your small iron and just quickly press down that seam. Now we're going to put this back in the machine and we're going to stitch down placement for fabric 4. And this time we're going to look to the right of that stitch line and lift up the fabric and just trim down carefully. Trimming down these little bits of fabric, it just helps reduce bulk in the block, which makes this easier to use, if you're going to use it later for a project or you're going to quilt it. It just helps to not have so much bulk. So now we're going to take fabric piece number 4 and we're going to lay it right side down, covering the center column here, and the long edge of fabric 4 is going to line up with the stitch line over here on the right. And if you need to use tape, go ahead and tape this down. Now we're going to put it back in the machine and we're going to stitch down fabric 4. Now take fabric 4 and flip it right side up, always doing a gentle finger press first and then ironing down that seam. And now let's go stitch down placement for fabric 5. And this time, if you have any overhang over here on the left of the seam, grab your scissors and trim down close to the stitches. And then grab your fabric number 5 and lay it right side down, once again covering the center and lining up the long edge of fabric 5 with that stitch line over here on the left side. And now let's go stitch into place fabric 5. Flip open fabric 5, gently press the seam, and then press it with your iron. Doesn't have to be for a long time, just quickly. So now we're going to go stitch down placement for fabric 6. And so 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all triangles. And you can actually leave this in the hoop the whole time. If you're making a lot of them, you don't have to take them out and adjust each one individually. You could stitch down placement and then stitch down the fabric and then placement fabric, placement fabric, placement fabric for all 4 corners, and then remove the whole thing out of the machine, trim it down, press it open. But I'm going to show you it step by step. So the first one is going to be on the top left corner here. That's going to be number 6. So pull up this top left corner here and trim down any excess fabric. And then grab fabric 6 and lay it right side down. The long edge of fabric 6 should line up with that stitch line you just made. Just make sure it goes end to end. And then let's stitch down fabric 6. Now take fabric 6 and flip it right side up, finger pressing the seam first, and then ironing it down. And now let's go stitch down placement for fabric 7, and then pull up the top right triangle, which is where fabric 7 is going to go, and just trim down the excess overhang. Grab fabric 7, lay it right side down, and lining up the long edge with the stitch line. And now let's stitch down fabric 7. Now lift up fabric 7, and then press it so it's right side up. And now let's go stitch down placement for fabric 8. Now lift up that bottom right corner, grab your scissors, and just trim off that excess down there. And let's grab fabric number 8 and lay that right side down. And now let's stitch down fabric 8. Now let's just flip fabric 8 up and press that seam. And now we're going to go stitch down placement for the last piece, which is fabric number 9. Now lift up the bottom left corner and finally just trim down that excess material. And then take your final cut, which is fabric 9, and lay it right side down, again lining up long edge to the stitch line, just like that. And now let's stitch down fabric 9. Finally, flip up fabric 9 so it's right side up. Smooth out that seam, grab your iron, and just iron this down. There we go. And now we're going to put this back in the machine and we're going to do a couple more steps. The first step is just going to stitch out the rectangle for the final block size, and then the quilting step is completely optional. So now let's stitch out the outline for the finished block. And the last step is the quilting step. If you have your own idea for how you're going to quilt this all together once the blocks are done, you don't have to do this one. However, if you just want to be able to attach them and be done with it, do this step, especially if you're going to use this for bags. You're going to really appreciate that you already have these quilted. All right, once you have it completely done, you're going to take it out of the hoop. And I know it's kind of like, that's not what I thought it was going to look like. But the magic is when you trim it down. That's when you get to really see your block shine. So I'm going to take my ruler here. And again, you can't see it probably in the camera, but there is that outer square right here. That's the finished block size. I know it needs to be 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches in the end. So I'm going to line up the left and bottom stitches of my square here with the 4.5 inch and 4.5 inch mark on my gridded ruler. And then I'm going to use my rotary cutter to cut the right side and the left side. So you see now I can take this and rotate it, and I have a nice clean cut here on the left and the bottom. And then I'm going to take my ruler once again and lining up the cut edges with the 4.5 inch and 4.5 inch marks on my ruler. And then I will just cut the right side and the top. And look at that. How stinking cute is that block? It is so cheerful. You know what this would be really cute for? If you made colorful blocks like this and then made them, I'm going to suggest the boxy bag because it's so fun. But made them into some sort of fun little, like a little pouch or something like that. And then give this to your kids' teachers for the first day of school. Because it's brand new school. It's just colorful, it's cheerful, it's bright, and it's like, hey, I appreciate you, and it's the first day of school. I don't know. I'm always thinking of teachers, especially all year really, but especially towards the end of summer. I'm always thinking of those teachers, and I think this would be a really fun project to make something for them. How cute is this little block? So I'm going to give you a nice close-up right now. Look at how cute that is. And you can make these super, super scrappy. And then you can take them and make a whole bunch of them. And I'm going to suggest you make them into a bag, especially if you're using like a stiffer stabilizer, like a stiffer tearaway. This is not cozy for a quilt, but this would be perfect for a bag. Nice structure. You don't have to add any other stabilizer or interfacing to it. Oh, this is so cute. So thank you again to Perfectly Pieced for allowing me to be a part of this. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of it for a year. I can't even believe it's been a year. I honestly really, when they told me that, I was like, well, I haven't been doing it for a year, have I? And it's like, no, I have. I've been doing this for a year. And I love them, you know, and if you've started with them, then you probably have a good selection of blocks. And after this time, you can start putting them all together and slowly see like a quilt come together. I think that's really cool. You guys know how much I love like a long-term quilt project that tells a story during that time. So this is, again, one of those opportunities for you to do that, especially if you just do the digital files and then use your own material. You're going to be telling a story through the material you use. And then how you put it all together, which I think is just beautiful. I love that. So I hope you're having a great day. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Get out there and make something. Bye, guys.